Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. Today is a not Battlegrounds video upload. It is about backpack battles, and this is one of the most interesting games I have ever played. It is in no way sponsored. At no way did these guys pay me to play this game or whatever. It's just a game that a lot of you guys have been asking me to play because it has elements that are very similar to Battlegrounds, and I know a lot of you guys watch my content generally for Battlegrounds, but you know. This is, in many ways, a like game, like Battlegrounds. And it has some, crazy mechanics that kind of blend a few different genres. Yeah, it really got me thinking. There's a lot more to this video than just showing you guys the game. But I know some of you guys are seeing it for the first time. It is a game that you can play, at least right now. I don't know how long it'll last. It's like a free demo on Steam. If you guys want to check it out, now's a good time to do so. You might like it because it's similar to Battlegrounds. So, the game, it's very indie, okay? It is very, very indie. It is also a demo. So, this is not the full version of the game. Hopefully, it will be quite different than this in some regards, at least, and we'll go over that in a bit. There's like two classes, probably other classes later on, and each class kind of has like a different starting setup. The game is you build your backpack, and part of the backpack are the items in the backpack and the backpack itself. You can play a ranger. The classes are defined by one of their starting bags, so items inside this one get crit chance based on how much luck you have, so that's part of the mechanics. And if you want to play the other class, which is the Reaper, it's kind of like the mage, you have this other thing here, the storage coffin. So items activating inside have 25% chance to poison your opponent. And you have like a different starting item. So just to kind of go over the game, basically you have like a shopping phase, and you have the different rounds. So on round one, you have generally common items, and then as the rounds progress, higher tier items like epic and rare and legendary and godly items start showing up. And there are certain item combinations, like if I get the sword and if I get like a whetstone or something, you can see that it has like a blue thing. That means it is part of the recipe. So if I get two whetstones with a wooden sword, that combos to give me like an upgrade of this, which I believe gives me a hero sword. So you can upgrade items. There are items that only show up for each of the different classes, which basically means that there is some differentiation between the builds based on the class that you pick, based on the starting setup, as well as some of the endgame items that you can combine later on. And yeah, let's say we get a shield, sure, and then when you're done in the shopping phase, any gold you don't spend carries over to the next turn. You click start queuing up, basically. Now, the reason we have unlimited time in the shopping phase, and everything's like auto battler, it's like an auto battler. We have the health, and we have the stamina. So whenever a weapon or some items, in some cases, they use stamina. So you have a stamina cost. You regenerate 1 stamina per second. Basically, you can't just have like 40 weapons or whatever. But you can buy bags, and you can see, basically, you fill up the space. Things like food, food triggers 10% faster for each star, so there are some positioning requirements. You can see the stars around it. 1 stars connect. 1 item can connect to 1 item. Like if you do this, 2 sides connect, but it's still 1 item to 1 item. So there's a lot of strategies. Like here we can do the banana, but then we want to kind of like optimize the items that get attacked because we want them in the storage coffin. So we want as many items that trigger frequently in the storage coffin. We want the banana to get both mushrooms, and we want the mushrooms to be touching banana. We want the whetstone. Again, you can rotate items above and below. We want to put the wooden sword there. We want to put that. We get the shield. We want to spend our gold. We start the matchmaking. Now, the matchmaking is pretty interesting. I believe Super Auto Pets has a similar mechanic to this game where you just face someone who had a build on that round. Like, it's not live matchmaking. Like my character there that queued up in round 2, I don't know exactly how they said it, but possibly, someone who later plays, I'm playing unranked right now, later plays unranked, might find my character on their round 2 at some point, maybe. That's generally the idea. And yeah, it's really cool. You go to like a whole bunch of rounds, like round 14, 15, you get some pretty crazy builds sometimes. And it's pretty competitive. It's pretty hard to do like super, super well. Especially if you're doing like ranked mode. It's very difficult to get ranking after Diamond because you have to win like a lot of your games, and there is kind of like a little bit of a meta game in there where some things counter other things, and it's really difficult to have like a catch-all build and kind of sort through that opportunistically as you might kind of see a Battlegrounds or Arena-like gameplay. So yeah, overall, the game is honestly, it's superb. Mechanics-wise, it is superb. And there are a few things that I kind of want to talk about. So is this going to be a backpack battles channel moving forward? Honestly, probably not. But we'll see. The game is set to release, I think, in early/mid of 2024. So, you know, few months away. It is the demo right now. There might be a lot more to the game. I feel like in the current version of the game, like I played like, I don't know, like 60 hours or something, and it's starting to like wind down a little bit for me because I've kind of gone through the exploration, figuring out the game, you know, playing through different builds and learning how it works. And it's really cool. And they do like weekly updates for balance. So it's still pretty fresh if you're playing at least semi-casually all the time. Like they're doing actually a pretty wonderful job with the game. So why am I probably not going to a full backpack battles channel? So okay, the company that's making this game is two people. Okay, they're based out of Germany, I think, and they're doing like a live service of this game. And they're also making and supporting other games as well. Man, these guys must be absolute superheroes to bring this game to a level that I think it could be brought to. But I think they probably just have a ton of stuff that's going on, and I don't think that this game will have the level of like polish, the overall experience that we get from honestly a game like Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Now, it doesn't mean I won't play it. I have been playing it. I probably will be checking out Backpack Battles every now and then. I absolutely will be playing when they launch the game. I think it's going to be awesome. It's one of the most innovative games that I've played. We actually have a second YouTube channel. So we will make some videos for Backpack Battles there, and I'll give you guys a link. Actually, I think it's always linked in the description. It's YouTube 2 Casual Kripp, if you guys may. And we have like a lot of clips. Again, I've been playing this game a lot on stream. So this is how I feel about Backpack Battles. I feel the idea to combine an auto battler with kind of like a puzzle genre as well. It feels more of like an adventure when you're playing one of the runs, as you say. It's more of an adventure than playing a game of Battlegrounds, because in Battlegrounds, it's much more gritty PvP, where if your opponent's doing something, you can try to counter him. It's much more PvP. Backpack Battles feels more like an adventure. You're playing other players, but it's not real time. They're not like PvE encounters, but they're not really like PvP encounters. Now, you know, some people are like, I always want PvP. I get it. But I actually think this is really wonderful in its own way as well. I don't really want to compare it in that sense. Overall, it's just really cool in the way that they combine all these different game mechanics and genres, and I love it. Okay, I love it so much. But I feel like a game like Backpack Battles barely scratches the surface in terms of like a full-on polished game within the genre that honestly may be invented. So what do I mean by that? Well, I've often talked about the ARPG genre, that Path of Exile is really hard to beat. What I mean by that is, I think you could make an ARPG better than Path of Exile, but like Path of Exile, like a 95 out of 100 overall on the game quality and like the update cycle and how they communicate all of that and the fairness. The game's still free. Like, it's insane, right? So like, how are you going to make an ARPG better than Path of Exile? I honestly, I would not take that task. Okay, I would not do it. You know, how do you make an MMO better than World of Warcraft? Now, you can kind of make it in a few different elements, but it's really hard. right? Like, how do you make a game better than, like Battlegrounds? Well, it's possible. Battlegrounds is maybe like an 85 on that. They've been doing a really good job with balance, but with updates, but they have issues with like balance. They have some issues with a lot of bugs that aren't really fixed. It's kind of annoying in that end. But I feel like a game like Backpack Battles, in the genre that maybe it even establishes, which is a adventure auto battler combined with like a puzzle game, I think it's like a 10 or like a 15 out of 100. Like, there's so much that you can add to a game like this that would make it way, way better. And it struck me in a pretty vivid way, where I actually had to think to myself, it's like, am I the person that needs to make this game happen? And the answer to that is no. And the reason is, I just kind of like playing video games. But I want to play a game that is like Backpack Battles, but like way better. Okay, that's the game that I want to play. And honestly, if that game existed, there's a pretty good chance that I would play that game on a regular basis with higher regularity than Battlegrounds. I think this genre is amazing. And I think the core of what they built, at least mechanically, is really good. But because it's a two-person indie team, because they probably have a ton on their plate, I really don't think that they're going to get it anywhere near that like 100 out of 100 to fully establish within the genre. And I've also had a lot of ideas, like if I made my own Backpack Battles, which I'm not going to, but if I did, it's like, what would I change about the game? I haven't really talked about it on stream because I was still kind of floating the idea, but no, at the end of the day, making like a AAA video game, it's basically the corporate world of making video games. No, I'm good. I like streaming, I like playing video games, and thanks to you guys, it's worked out pretty well. So I don't really want to add anything to that, especially because, we have a lot of other stuff going on just away from what you see. Ryan and I travel the world. We have IRL content on her channel if you guys want to check that out. We recently went to Salem for Halloween. It's been awesome. We have the New Zealand clips. So we are so busy. I am not in the business of making video games. But if you are, or if you're just curious what I think about this genre, this is what I think that Backpack Battles or a game like it should at least consider. So, first off, I think the IP in Backpack Battles is super weak. I feel the idea of playing like a Reaper or like a Ranger is just kind of lame. The way that I would go about it is I would kind of put like heroes. Think of like Battlegrounds. Imagine if you played Battlegrounds and instead of Zyrella, you played Priest. Or instead of like, I don't know, you had like the Garrosh hero, you played a Sword Shield guy, right? Like, it adds a lot to it. And because the actual like identity is pretty decent within a game like Backpack Battles for a playthrough of a class, I think people are just constantly repeating and going through and thinking about the different classes. And when you're thinking about just like Reaper, it's just, you don't really have that personal attachment to it. This game needs to have like, not like 2 or 3 classes, it needs to have like 10. Right? It needs to have 20, maybe 30. But the heroes need to be like super unique in a way, more so than just like the starting backpack and a few items being different. I think one thing that they, and by the way, the IP, I think it should be something like Diablo-ish. The gritty combat, the heroes and stuff like that actually like pop out, the medieval stuff. They kind of are dabbing into that with their weaponry and magic system, but I think a dark, gritty type of IP would work like much better for, but again, that might be personal preference. But yeah, they really should have like named heroes instead of classes. And how do you make those a little bit different? I think they should build upon what they have that differentiates each of the different classes. So right now, yeah, you have the different backpack and like a few item combinations, but I feel like it would be really interesting, again, once you have like many classes or many heroes, it'd be interesting to have like items that you have to use on your character, items that would kind of pin it to that character. Like if you had, I don't know, some hero that had like, it's like a Valkyrie with like a massive shield or something like that. It'd be, a starting item would be the shield, and you always had to use the shield to enter combat. You know, something like that I think would be way cooler. It'd be stronger identity for each of the heroes, and I think that would tie into what they already have in a game like this super well. The other really big thing, there is nothing more frustrating for me in backpack battles than just losing the first few rounds. In backpack battles, a win or a loss, there's no like damage taken. So if you lose your first round, or if you have this epic build and you lose like your 14th round, you have like a set number of lives. Now, the set number of lives is a pretty interesting concept, and honestly, I think it's decent if it didn't count the first few rounds. But not counting the first few rounds is kind of lame. So what's the solution to that? I think the solution to that is to have PvE rounds. I think you should fight like a boar or a rabbit or whatever the hell in the first few rounds, because you don't really have a lot of decision making in the first few rounds. You kind of just got to fill your board, your character with like some rudimentary item slots, right? And because of that, I think it would be huge. And this is something that I still wait from like auto battlers, like Hearthstone, like Battlegrounds, if you're listening, you know. I would really love to see really in-depth encounters, especially in a game like Backpack Battles where you just face someone that has a board on your round. So, you know, it could be whatever. It's not like a PvP game exactly. You could really go ham with this. Right? Like you could have each adventure, rather than being a whole bunch of set rounds against other players' characters, it could be, yeah, the first few rounds are against like, you know, pretty easy boars, or, you know, you just kill them for like a little bit of loot or whatever. But later on, you can encounter maybe a mix of some players, or maybe a mix of bosses. I actually think like the way that Backpack Battles or a game like it could set this up, if you had like a completed run, the last encounter wouldn't be a player, it'd be like a boss, right? It'd be like the boss. So if you have like a run, you go through the early PvE encounters to set up your characters. You do some PvP rounds, like encountering adventures along your way to defeat the boss or some enemies, some like, you know, surprise elements, something that kind of differentiates one run from another. And your ultimate goal is to like to beat a boss that's meaningfully hard, at least more or less. And I would really want to see loot interactions with this. Like if you face off against another like player, if you lose, I think instead of like losing a heart, I think you should like lose like a random item or two, right? Because that'll make beating the boss later a lot more difficult. And I also think they should be like targeted. Like if you beat another player, instead of just, you know, going to the shop and buying all the stuff, I think it'd be really cool if you just got one or two of their items at random. And if you beat like a boss encounter or like a boar or something, like, they would drop themed items. Like if you beat a boar, you can get like that tusk. There's like a tusk in this game, for example. I think that would really tie in the experience very well, and each run would much more feel like an adventure. So if the goal is to kill a boss, what do you do for like the people that want like, you know, full on PvP? Well, I think they should have kind of like a two-tiered system. I think a game like this should have kind of like the adventure where you like have the progression of a character and you set up like the backpack style build that they have. I think characters that do a full run, like beat your final boss or just do a full run in general, I think those characters, you should be able to like save them, and there should be like a second mode where you just face different players, kind of like a champions like championship style event where just characters that beat the boss or finished full runs could just go up against each other. And that's really where you can kind of see some of the crazy meta counters and all that kind of stuff that you can expect in like the PvP style of an auto battler. So, and something like that would obviously reset like every week or month or however often you do like patches, because it would have to be updated every now and then. So the gameplay loop would be constantly doing adventures, you know, doing kind of like a mix of PvE and PvP, and ultimately getting characters that are really powerful to kind of promote them to the secondary play mode, which is like the PvP, and doing that and adapting that for each like different patch cycle. So I know I'm kind of off the rails on this one, but that is the game that I want to play. Okay, I think that game would be incredible. And probably we won't see a game like that, at least not for some time, but we'll see. Maybe my voice in the mix makes a difference, or maybe there's other people out there that make games that think of similar things and have projects working on these. But overall, the Backpack Battles has been a wonderful game to play, so I do encourage you guys to check it out, and we'll have to see what the future holds. See you next time.